We're coming back at you. It's Tuesday evening here in Miami, but over there on the West Coast, it's about 3 hours earlier. That's Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escajedo, your hosts. This is the Trampled Underfoot podcast, and we've got some stuff coming at you now. Roll the intro.
Roll that beautiful bean footage. I don't know whatever happened to those commercials, but yeah. I enjoyed the Bush's Beans commercial with the dog. Roll that beautiful bean footage. That's all I've got on my. I've been in machine building mode for a week, so you'll have to excuse me. And now the ice cream truck's going by, so if you hear twinkle ding dong music, that's what's happening. So it's been one of those weeks. I'm tired. I'm happy. I know it. I clap my hands. So
I've been doing what would you call it? It's been so long that I can't even describe it properly. Okay, I'll describe it this way. I have been gathering things that are of no longer use and grouping them and then putting them into a receptacle and evacuating certain areas of the house. I can't get I can't massage the actual term for what that implies because it's been so long that I've done such things, but that's what I've been up to.
Cleaning house and throwing stuff away. That's it. Oh, I've already filled up a 35-gallon garbage can full of stuff out in the shop shed. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Most of it's been packaging material, but I mean, you go through and you yeah, Linda says, not sure if I'm hearing twinkle ding dong over the headphones or out the window. Yeah, the ice cream truck just cruised through the cul-de-sac. So
those are one of the joyous things that would run through a neighborhood back in the day.
Well, it still kind of is. Last summer we had a bunch more kids in this neighborhood than we've had in a long time. We had new people move into the rentals here in the neighborhood, and they had kids. And we had a family move in to buy a house and move in. They had kids. Well, those renters have moved out, and the family that bought the house, they just recently moved out, and the place is up for sale. So now there's not as many kids in the neighborhood anymore. So it's not as exciting as it was. 4th of July was kind of there was a few people out there with fireworks in the street, but I mean, maybe 2 families. Whereas last year, I mean, it was a major party out there. There must have been 30, 40 kids out there running around setting off fireworks in the cul-de-sac. It was really something.
Well, conversely, here last year on the 4th of July, it was overwhelming fireworks on every corner where the dust or smoke settled like a fog in every direction. And it went on for hours. People were sort of like, and I wrote about it that day to keep it as a memory on Facebook. It's as if people were trying to throw off the evils of the previous 2 years in some sort of like cathartic, ritualistic, tribal
just
thing.
blow off steam,
But this year, there was like a few bangs and pops, and it fizzled down quite quickly.
Well, there were still a lot of people lighting off fireworks. I mean, the aerials were going off, and big mortars being fired and big, fireworks going off in the air. Yeah. But the cul-de-sac itself, our street here, because we're on a dead end block, there was like one family in their driveway, and that was it. Where last year there must have been 30 kids out there, and it's just kind of thinned out over the past year, and it's not the same. So, oh well, not much you can do. I mean, not much you can say. People got to live, but it was just a lot more quiet. And I I don't know, it's just me getting old, and I know it is, but I have come to the realization that the reason for the holidays we celebrate doesn't change. I know that. Christmas is Christmas, and there's a reason for it, and we celebrate for a reason. Same thing with any other. 4th of July is still 4th of July. We celebrate it for a reason. But I've come to the realization that most of these holidays are geared towards kids. And it's just not the same when you don't have kids around. You know,
Yeah.
it's just not the same. Because, I mean, Linda and I can stand on the front porch and watch fireworks and everything. But without kids having fun doing it, watching it, or enjoying it themselves, it's just not the same. It's just not as fun, you know?
You know, I'll unpack a few things, see where it goes. It's not necessarily what you're suggesting, although it's within the thing,
Mhm.
but I'm compelled to. Um, that's one of the most beautiful things. The concept of kids
Mhm.
gathered, um, holidays such as Christmas,
Mhm.
uh, growing up in America
Yeah.
with certain levels of prosperity depending on, there's variations, but thinking back from a little kid's perspective, the excitement was uncontainable.
Yeah.
And all the kids in the block would run to each other's houses to see what everybody else got and then play with the toys that
Yeah.
everybody else got, whether it was Atari or whatever the heck it was. And the parents, um, they were prolonging innocence
Yeah.
in kids. And in the setting of Sweetwater, let's say, and it could be repeated in throughout the country, I would imagine, because I mean we see it on postcards and in TV shows everywhere. It was basically like that, with slight variations in geographic locations and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so without that family
Mhm.
and that, I have to agree with you. Um, those holidays, not that they ring hollow, but there's a certain something special to say about human beings propagating in a continuum. Maybe it's something so deep in my animalistic, lizard brain that they say, but it's a compelling argument to say human beings keep doing it and keep producing children.
Well, we do get a certain amount of joy as adults. We get a certain amount of joy sharing that joy with youngins or with people who aren't even exposed to that kind of thing. I mean, um, relate it to something that we can both relate to. If you meet up with somebody, you make a friend or what have you, and they've never listened to a particular band, when you play a record or a couple of tunes from this band and they're like, oh yeah, this is good, this is great stuff, there's a certain level of joy you get from
Mhm.
exposing them to something that you've loved for years.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when you've got kids, in that I remember my excitement for Christmas morning or Easter morning or even 4th of July. We couldn't, I mean, any other day of the summer, we wanted the day to last as long as it could, because we knew when night came, we were one day closer to going back to school. But 4th of July was the one day of the year we wanted it to be nighttime now so we could light fireworks. We didn't care about the rest of the day. We didn't care about barbecue. We didn't give a damn about going to the river. We didn't give a damn about nothing else. We wanted it dark now so we could light fireworks. And being this far north, it don't get dark until 9:30. So you really had to wait. And that was also the one time a year mom would let us stay up past our bedtime because it had to be dark enough to see the damn fireworks. So, yeah.
Inversely from that kid experience, one good thing, because there's lots of good things to be said about being a kid.
Mm.
Um, we could go on and on. I mean, it's just endless.
Yeah,
But
really.
but likewise, on the opposite side of the spectrum, as an adult, at least one of my personal favorite parts of being an adult is the ability to say, no, you know what? Screw that jazz. I'm gonna go ahead and do it on my own. Thank you very much.
Hmm.
Or I'm gonna go ahead and do it on my own, my way.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, um, there's a level of satisfaction with saying, no, 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 I'm gonna go ahead and not do all that.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. There is. I mean,
Yeah,
different strokes for different folks, as we
yeah,
used to say.
yeah.
But yeah, so that excitement that I had for 4th of July in the when I was a kid, to see other kids having that exact same excitement kind of rekindles that in my brain, and I have a lot of fun too. I don't know. I can have fun doing various different things. I said before I've been in machine building mode all week long. I have fun doing that kind of thing. But I also have fun just sit back and observing. So I don't actually have to be doing something in order to enjoy it. And I do get a certain level of enjoyment, and I do think it's fun watching kids have fun like that. So, yeah, Steve has a good point. Fewer people could afford to do it this year. That is true. Um, with prices being what they are right now, yeah, I get what you're saying. But there were still people setting off fireworks. It's just there were fewer kids in this neighborhood, so fewer people bought the fireworks to set off. Was all I was getting at. There were still just as many rockets going off and things like that around here, anyway. So,
I got up once, and I'm gonna get up again to close the door
mhm.
because Vigo went on a sneaking and peeing in one corner um, about a few days ago, and I've
Mhm.
been reinstilling the go out,
Mhm.
pee outside because I mean, give me a break for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
When it rains, I, I open the door and like it's coming down in sheets, right? And I'm like, go pee. And he turns his head and he looks at me. And if he had digits like us, he'd probably throw up the bird. He looks at the water, he looks at me, and he's like that. And so
I
I
don't
say,
think so,
okay.
cowpoke.
Well, yeah, no. So I think to myself, he's not dumb. So I close the door, and I'm trying to time it, but it slips because you're busy on your. And then bam, that's when it So I've been trying to reaffirm.
Yeah.
Go do it outside, please. Give us all a break, will ya?
Yeah.
And
Well, how old is he? How old is Vigo?
um, well, he was born in 2011. He's
Oh,
back.
okay. So he's 11 years old. Okay. So Vigo is a beagle for those who don't know. And so okay. Yeah, well, yeah, he should be well trained by 11 years. Holy cow.
Yeah, well, he is for the most part. He'll scratch and get out and this and that, but
Sure.
accidents still happen on
Sure.
occasion. You
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
I'm not that
yeah.
regimental. Um, if you haven't noticed,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he does. We do have a good thing going. It's just that
Mhm.
sometimes he thinks he's the one running the show.
Well, I think it's dog law, you know.
And I think they you know what another interesting thing. I think that they know way more. This is my personal take. Because he's looking at me right now. You're looking at me, and you know I'm talking on the thing. Don't worry, it's all good, and you're a good boy. They know, and he's still looking at me. He's very smart.
There
My
may be food.
my Vigo is very smart. And look, he's coming back for a pet. Here's the thing: when we're doing this show
Hmm.
and we stop, like at
Hmm.
the end of it, the moment, like at the after show,
Hmm.
and then like we say goodbye and stuff, he gets up immediately that moment,
Hmm.
and it's as if okay, now we're shifting into a new transition in so he knows very
Hmm.
well,
Yeah.
very very well, and he's yes you do, Beagle, you're a good boy. Yeah, I don't take him for granted in respect to intelligence. He's very smart,
Hmm.
and yeah, you
Yeah.
can't beat thousands and thousands of years of contact
No,
in terms of
it's an evolutionary thing. It really
oh yeah,
is.
oh yeah.
Um, Something I forgot to do over the last few times. I'm going to go ahead and put the link out there if somebody would like to come in and join us. There it is. That's the link to jump on StreamYard. Click the link, test your mic, your cam, your speakers, join in, and we'll bring you up and you'll be a part of this broadcast. Yee haw.
Yeah.
Ask Greg. It's not that bad. Greg was with us last week. He is out there now. The Vigo's got Eloy trained. Well, kinda. Yeah. There is a lot to be said for that. There's a mutual training that goes on between dogs and people. In that you think you have the puppy, well, the puppy has you.
You have
So,
each other because it's family now.
mhm, yeah. Once that
Literally.
connection's made, yes.
So there's a mutual give and take, but
Hmm.
in some cases, in some cases, it's true in some cases because like I'll be working here, and I'll turn my head slightly, and then I'll see a look. No words are involved, mind you,
Hmm.
and I'll automatically get up and go to the treat bag, and he just turns it like when he sees me, and he walks towards the treat bag before I get there, so
Hmm.
we both know where we're going with no words exchanged,
Yeah.
and the treat will be handed, and the satisfaction will occur.
We got new neighbors over here to the west of us, and they've got a German Shepherd,
Okay.
and she's not a year old yet, so still a lot of pup there. And well, no, I take that back. She's a little over a year old, not quite two, but still a lot of pup there. And we're still getting to know one another. She's still at that stage where she doesn't know me very well at all. So I come out of the house, she'll bark once, see it's me, and then it's cool. But she'll bark at anybody close because German Shepherds are protective. I mean,
Mhm.
that's just their nature.
Yeah.
But cute dog. I mean, and I'm a dog lover anyway. I like dogs better than I like most people. But that's just me. And everybody has that one friend that at any kind of a party, they're ignoring the people and they're over in the corner playing with the dog. I am that guy. That's me. So it'll take a little bit to for her to get used to me. And I got permission to give the dog milk bones on occasion. So come payday when we go grocery shopping, there'll be a box of milk bones coming home with us.
Well, I'll just mention this. Usually, when we think of dogs, well, not usually when we think of dogs, in terms of what I'm thinking, um, I think of dogs in the long lens of things
Mhm.
as being around um, into not current era but prior
Uh-huh.
BC, going back into the forgotten times. But I usually think of it in terms of um, like the expansion throughout Eurasia,
Hmm.
Europe and Asia,
Yeah.
Africa. Like the old world, as they say.
Hmm.
I don't think of it in terms of the new world, but um, and I was looking at this earlier, funny enough, and we ended up with this. But I'll just say this: the earliest evidence for dogs in the Americas can be found in Danger Cave, Utah, a site which has been dated to between 9,000 and 10,000 years.
BC.
These New World dogs have been shown to descend from Old World Eurasian gray wolves.
Hmm. So now the dates on that cave were 9 to 10,000 BC, or that was just 9 to 10,000 years old,
9 to 10,000 years BC.
and they're descended from Eurasian gray wolves.
Descended from Old World Eurasian gray wolves.
They may have come over with. I mean, there are lots of theories on how North America was first populated and when. So I'm guessing they would have come with the first peoples that settled North America.
Well, yes, I would assume that first
Hmm.
they
That
would
would
have
have
been
to be.
connected.
Hmm.
As far as that's concerned, um, the wolf DNA,
Hmm.
or I'm sorry, that dog DNA traces back to Eurasia,
Hmm.
and consequently, so does the original peoples in the Americas, the
Yeah.
indigenous people. They have the strongest link with people in like what you call Eastern Asia,
Hmm.
all throughout, and blending in to Europe,
Yeah.
because it's a continuum of DNA between all human beings. So there's crossover letter sequences where the natives here actually share with the people from across the way.
Yeah.
And so, it seems like it's the conventional belief according to what information exists.
Yeah.
It seems like the most realistic, or man, the one that we can actually have
Hmm.
put, teeth behind. I don't know what
Yeah.
saying.
I mean,
I'm trying to find. Oh, that was a good pun too, or a good.
yeah, that's what I thought you were going for.
No, I was in any
Well,
event. Yeah.
well, it's strange when you figure it, and you know what? Zoologists are still mystified at why dogs are so unique in that we know that they're basically descended from, you know, from wolves, basically, from
Yeah.
canines that were domesticated. But the variety, I mean, a German Shepherd is as different from your beagle as your beagle is from a Great Dane. Yet they're all descended from common ancestors way back. You got to go back, thousands and thousands of years.
Well, not for these animals that we call dog variations now,
But well, but
or a good handful of them.
but
The changes happened a lot in Europe, like breeders.
yes, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting at. Dogs are unique in that aspect, in that you can breed if you take two dogs. I'll give you an example. Cocker spaniels were bred down from Springer spaniels. Springer spaniels are a large dog, roughly the size of a Labrador, maybe a little bit shorter, but not much. But they would breed smaller Springers, and then when that litter was, they bred several litters of smaller Springer spaniels and just kept breeding down and came up with the breed, the Cocker spaniel, and bred them with one another, and they just stayed small. So, but dogs are unique in that regard, because you can try it with cats and you won't get the variety that you will get with dogs, because each dog breed is a separate and distinct breed. And there are only four or five. Well, there's more than four or five, but there's nowhere near as many different breeds of cat as there are of dog, because they just don't breed that way. You can't breed certain characteristics into a cat, but you can breed certain characteristics into a dog.
I guess
You
after
know.
I don't know about the cats. I know the dogs is a pretty sure thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's been an ongoing process of like doing that. Like
Right.
if you keep um, breeding for or selecting for certain characteristics out of a batch
Mm-hmm.
that comes out with that trait, like let's say the little spot on a beagle's back,
Mm-hmm.
behind in front of the tail. My dog has the tradition. I mean, he's a complete beagle, but he has his little white spot is slightly like
Mm-hmm.
you would think in the middle. Well, nothing is perfect. It's slightly nudged to the side, that on him.
Uh-huh.
Um, if you keep selecting those and breeding those and breeding those, and then pulling the ones that reproduce that and keep
Mm-hmm.
doing that and doing it and doing that. So they could do that for all sorts of traits and sort of point the ship in a certain direction to get the look of a Chihuahua or
Mm-hmm.
whatever case might be.
Right.
And so it's an incredible thing.
Right. And that's the thing about it, is dogs are unique in that regard, that you can breed for certain characteristics, be it size, color, certain attitude, what have you. You can breed for those characteristics, but dogs are unique in that regard. No other animal can be bred in that way. That's not successfully. They haven't successfully done it yet. And it's been tried for years and years and years. It's like, um, I want to say, all thoroughbred racehorses are all descended from a common stud. Every thoroughbred in the world are descended from that common stud that was an Arab racehorse, and all around the world. But you can breed for certain characteristics in horses, it just doesn't really work. There are different breeds of horses, but those, generally speaking, are natural occurrences and not man made.
You can't control for it, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, when the Spanish first got here, in order for them to with the in order to leave supplies that could be replenished
Hmm.
on their trip back and then on a return trip, they released pigs,
Hmm.
European pigs,
Yeah.
and they were just pigs, and they let them loose, and so that in hopes that
Hmm.
when they come back they'll have piglets, and then they can have more food and so on and so. Upon successive voyages, when they returned, they had become so feral and
Hmm.
savage and like boar type, like wild,
Wild. Yeah.
and the hair changed. Like they became Amazon, like the wild boar that we see.
Yeah.
Usually, all those come from those original, and so let on their own. Let to their own devices, they became the savage, and that
Hmm.
would chase your ass down.
Yeah.
Like they're not the piglets that they will come after you, and they
Yeah.
will train track over you.
Yeah.
So it
Yes.
so but I don't even know about pigs and stuff if you can select for, but we know dogs is like the classic thing.
Yeah, just won't get the variety in other animals. You can successfully breed animals and get certain traits, but not the variety that you will get with dogs, you know.
And there is a lot of, I mean, a greyhound is a spectacular looking, but then compare it to the extreme, like a purse poodle.
Yeah.
They have a common ancestor.
Yeah, the wolf.
Literally, like it's been like it's a scientific thing to say. They have
Mhm.
a totally and yet yeah, but some guy, I don't know who it was, said that that if we revert to, if let on their own, I don't know, somebody, I saw that recently in some sort of argument. Um, if let on their own, what do the poodles? They can't fend for them unless they gather into little poodle um, like tribes and attack as groupings. Other than that, how do they survive? You know, they go, "Nya, nya, nya." Oh, did you see that video somewhere here in America? I don't know where exactly, where it's a night cam on a parking
Uh-huh.
lot to protect the car
Uh-huh.
from vandals, and the car's there, right?
Yeah.
And then you see one dog pop up in the middle of the night, and then you see another one. And soon there's like 15 to 16 dogs. They all surround the car. For
Uh,
some reason, they surround the car and they start to attack the car. That's not moving, it's not doing anything. They tore the bumper out. They went into the engine. You can see them struggling into the, they're trying to get in. I mean, it's almost like what a bear would do, but dogs. And you
did they
could,
put the cat in there or something?
I have no idea because then once they destroyed the car, the film ended. But the point is that if we were to take that imagination further and like eliminate civilization, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
um, they would have to do stuff like that to
Oh
get
yeah.
into nooks in order to acquire, if they're lucky, food.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
They
so
would revert back to wild. They would definitely revert back to wild. I mean, there are wild dogs in Africa that are descended from domestic house pets that they just got out, got away, ran off for whatever reason, and successfully bred with other dogs, and just they are not domestic house pets. I mean, we're talking about generation after generation after generation for a couple hundred years. These are not nice doggies. These are wild animals that
um,
have no connection with humans at all. They have not been domesticated or socialized or anything like that, and they will rip your face off just because they feel like it.
yeah, they
So,
have reverted and they will survive.
yeah. Linda corrected me here. Godolphin Barb, Darley Arabian, and Byerly Turk were the three founding studs of modern thoroughbred horse. So all thoroughbred horses around the world are descended from those three Arabian horses. All
Interesting.
of them. Yeah. So, and Linda is horse people. She knows, she's forgotten more about horses than I ever learned. So,
Um, as far as I know, there's only one place in Europe that has wild, free range monkeys roaming a city or a town.
yeah, I know where that is. Yeah.
Where is it?
That's down in Gibraltar.
In Gibraltar. I
Hmm.
ran across it. And because like I did a tour, you know, there's
Hmm.
a few channels that are really cool because they go off and do tours of different exotic places and
Yeah.
they share it with the rest of us and we get to see the streets and whatnot. And he explained that when he went through the area, you see the monkeys grabbing people's backpacks, people
Oh yeah.
struggling, people running, and it's like they're like little gang members, dude.
Yeah. I can't think of, I can't remember what they are called. There's certain variety of monkey, and I can't remember what they're called. Bonobos.
They said that they were brought there by the Arabs
Hmm.
um, back in medieval times. They
Hmm.
say um, across from Morocco and
Uh-huh.
you know all that, and and there's a saying that as long as there's these monkeys there, the Gibraltar will remain as an English possession. There's a
Oh
saying
yeah.
that the locals say. Um, I found it interesting because in order to get to Gibraltar,
Hmm.
you have to cross like from from Andalusia.
Hmm.
You have to cross their actual because the place is small. their actual airport, and so traffic and people are walking across the runway when there's no airplanes. So, and that's how
Sure.
you get into the thing,
Hmm.
by crossing the frickin' airport, airport
Runway?
runway.
Really? I didn't realize that. I didn't know you had to go through the airport to get to Gibraltar.
And
I knew
there's a
you could go there, but I didn't know you had to cross the airport to get there.
it was fascinating. Well, this same guy, I saw a
Hmm.
couple of his videos. This same guy not only did that, but then I saw one about the Orkney Islands,
Yeah.
which was freaking fantastic. He took a trip to the Orkneys,
Hmm.
and it's just mind blowing. And he went to villages where it was the first Viking settlements
Yeah.
there, still there, like rocks and whatnot.
Wow. That's odd.
Well, I mean, it's not like the original inhabit. Well, they might be ancestors to one degree or the other of the, but they have structures.
Yeah.
I mean, not advanced structures, but like we're talking about
Well,
rock. You
now
know,
you're talking about Viking or Neolithic?
no, we're talking Viking.
Okay.
So we're talking, what would it be? I forget the amount of time they said that those actual structures were, but they called it that. But if we're talking Viking, let me see. The Romans left in about 400 and something from, Europe
I was
or
thinking it was like in
North
the
Europe,
700s, wasn't it, that the Vikings went?
and then the Vikings were. Then the Gothic people come in, which were kind of pretty much not really, but yes, were within the Viking concept, but they weren't Viking necessarily.
Yeah.
They were the barbarians, let's say. So anywhere from after 400, we'd have to look anywhere from
I
after 400 AD through 700
Yeah,
and
I
beyond.
was thinking it was 700 in the 700s that the Vikings started raiding the British Isles, but I could be wrong on that. I I,
So
I was
he
thinking 700s.
he went. No, that's about within the time.
Hmm.
The Rome falls.
Hmm.
Rome falls. There's no more money, and stuff is
Yeah,
going wrong. So the structure is gone, and it's replaced by warlords in Europe
right.
that happen to be ex-Roman soldiers in many cases.
Yep.
And then that happens for a while. Then, as Europe starts to form its stronger, and the Catholic Church, then the Vikings start to come in and stuff. So it's anywhere between. It's closer to 700s than it would be from that early fall
Sure.
of Rome. But
Sure.
whatever. Anyways, the village was a small little village,
Hmm.
and I can't necessarily quote the date as we've seen,
Sure.
but it's in the middle of this table and a precipice
Hmm.
into the ocean, and it's green fields, and it's a small little village in the middle of nowhere, and you see the rock, and the guy walks filming, and his tour guide is with him, and they walk up to one of the homes,
Hmm.
and it's like a hobbit home, like small, and he says, wow, look how small these doors, how could they fit in here? And the tour guide said, no, that's for the animals. So it's like it was like the little stable, like a protected stable and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um. Anyways, they took a trip around the two largest islands, and it was just beautiful. It
Was
was.
one of them St. Kilda?
I don't. It's the two largest islands.
But that's in the Orkney Islands, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, St. Kilda is it's part of the Outer Hebrides, and it's considered to be one of the most remote, desolate um,
Places.
places on Earth. In that, at its peak in the late 17th century, they had a population of 180 people. And the last of the permanent population was basically evacuated and relocated out of there in 1930, just simply because they were so, there were only 36 people living there, and it was just so inhospitable there and uninhabitable there that it was basically a rescue mission. But it's become what they call a World Heritage Site, in that the they go the inhabitants go back into antiquity there, but eh, they are able to study how modern man could live in such primitive conditions as what is known on this island, and that it's almost constant wind. There are no trees at all on this island. I mean, the biggest thing was a bush that was about 4 feet tall. They existed mainly on fish and seabirds, and that's about it. And, and they ended up, you know, getting all these people and basically rescuing them and bringing them back into the UK, where they just kind of, holy cow, a tree. What do you know?
But
Just
there's
freak them
people
all
living
out.
there. There's people living there
Mhm.
um, currently, and there's, I guess you could call them towns or towns,
Mhm.
um,
Oh,
with their corrugated aluminum, whatever, and actual with the grass and whatnot. I know there's a lot of tourism, but there's people living there. Maybe they're there for the tourism thing, but I would have assumed he didn't talk about it, but I would have assumed that there's still people that would trace their ancestry. I don't know that for a fact. I was
to the
assuming
to
this.
the Orkneys, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I do know that there are there in okay. This goes into the Lindsay DNA project. There is one branch of the Lindsay family that is has been kind of pinpointed. They came from the Orkneys, and that's one branch. So and it's they followed the genealogy back to that area, and I cannot remember the name of the island in the Orkneys that they originated from. But yes, there are still a lot of people that live there. I mean, obviously not as many as in on Great Britain, but still quite a few people.
Yeah.
And they fly to the UK and back, and this, that, and the other. I mean, hey, here we go. There's the person to ask right there, Jamie Page. Jamie, have you visited the Orkney Isles? I know you've been to Scotland a few times. Have you ever visited the Orkneys? So we'll see what he has to say. We've still had no takers on wanting to come join us, but that's all right. Don't have to. It'll work.
And it was very windy too. Oh, and they ate. I wish I could remember exactly, but they ate something that they cook there or they prepare there, and their tour guide, he did the whole thing to give them a nice
Sure.
experience. And one thing was lamb, another thing was some other. It looked tasty. It looked different.
Yeah. Okay. No, he says he's never been to the Orkneys. Okay. Well, why not? So, the Orkneys, visit now.
Well, actually, talking about since JP is there, um, and I don't know if you all have come across this channel. It's a like channel as the one we've been talking about, where the guy, he's a British guy, he's an English guy, right? He's from the South, and he has his, I guess, Russian girlfriend or wife, I don't know, and they travel around the world. And he's been doing that. I think they call him Bald something Bald, like that's his channel, Bald
Hmm.
Traveler or Bald whatever. He's a British guy, and he has always traveled around the world and showing the different weird places that one would come across. But he did an episode of his country,
Hmm.
right? And he decided to go from England all the way up to the last point in Scotland, and just do
Jo-
that trip and film it and whatnot.
John
And
O'Groats. Okay.
and he and so he started his trip, and he explains a lot of things, and he films a lot of people and whatnot. But what's cool, what was interesting, was that when he starts in England and he explains, there's a certain look in this, and he goes through Wales and whatnot. But when he gets into Scotland, he and you're seeing it. He mentions, and he eats in different places. He mentions, there's a strange feeling to this place when he talking about like Scotland.
Mhm.
Everything feels slightly dated or retro, and yes, the malls and the places looks like the 1980s.
Yeah.
Like, hands down, you could close your eyes and picture any place in America back in the 80s, and it's got certain vibe of the infrastructure that has that vibe.
Mhm.
Um, and so I found it interesting, and he met a lot of people along the way. They were afraid, him and his co-host, leaving England and ending up in Scotland because they didn't know how they would be perceived, and they were treated very nicely, and they were pleasantly surprised, but they were worried when they were in Scotland,
I,
because of whatever rivalries culturally might which there's history, but just the same, they were quite okay with with their travel, but they were
it's
worried.
less so in Ireland, but I have heard that before, and I've never understood that. Um, I mean, I know they have the history and what have you, but it's not an adversarial relationship like England and Ireland are. That's completely different. But um, England and Scotland, I mean, yeah, there's a history there, but they're more or less okay. Jamie's talking about that trip you're talking about is from Land's End down south to John O'Groats up north. That's the farthest point.
That's the trip that they took.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a little over 800 miles. It's not quite. It's closer to 800 than 900 miles.
Yeah.
So,
It
and
was
that's the
really cool. It was really
farthest you can drive from the farthest southern tip to the northern tip. So,
yeah.
yeah, Linda says Scotland was great. Everyone we met was very nice, and that's probably true. But you were an American tourist, so
Well, no, they had a good experience. Now, I did find it interesting when they were in Scotland. Like, when they were in Wales,
Mhm.
they didn't do much of England, except the furthest point south.
Mhm.
Um,
Land's End, yeah.
but they kind of quickly entered into Wales and then up and whatnot. But they went through Blackpool and whatnot. But when they were in Wales, people were quite, you know, I would say casual, and there's no. But you did see, the further north you went, more of a, I hate to say it like this, but it's kind of the closest thing I can associate, more of a New York Bronx bravado starting to manifest itself in the um, just the certain people that they would. So the kids, they started cracking some jokes with some kids that were there, some
Hmm.
Scottish kids, and they were quite. They got up and they were quite. You could close your eyes and imagine somewhere like kids sitting on the stoops somewhere in New York in 1960 something with the
Uh-huh.
rolled up sleeves and whatnot. They had a little bit of that bravado going on, and they were Scottish, and but it was all good. But there was
Hmm.
you could see variations in the, and he did mention other things
Hmm.
which explain a lot too. But yeah,
Yeah. So he went up the western side then, basically. If
yeah,
he went through Wales, okay. Well, yeah, the further north you go, and it's funny, the UK is just the opposite of the US in this regard. With us, we consider the South to be backwards and backwoods. Well, there it's the North, and especially the Northwest, they consider to be backwoods and kind of bumpkinish. You know, not just the Northwest, but all of the North.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so all of the jokes that we make about the South here in the U.S., they make about the North. You know, a northern vegan means, yeah, he'll have a big beef sandwich, but he won't take the lettuce off. That's a northern vegan. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, it's it's
um,
it's a tough one to because there are truisms. Oh,
mhm.
go ahead, go ahead.
Well, no. Go ahead.
No,
You're still on the subject, and I was going to change it real quick.
oh no, go ahead. I
Oh,
mean,
just
you got
just
something else?
just just a little thing here. I don't have something else, but it's just a quick comment. Greg was talking about, but did they have Slurpees? Something we didn't talk about last week when Greg was on with us. Greg is in Manitoba, not far from Winnipeg, and Winnipeg is per capita the largest consumer of Slurpees. Is it just in North America or is it in the world,
No,
Greg?
the world
The world, the largest
consumers of Slurpees.
consumers of Slurpees. So I have to wonder. Linda and I missed it yesterday. Yesterday was 7-Eleven. And down here in the States, I have to wonder if they do this up there. Down here in the States, after 11 o'clock in the morning to 7 at night, it's free Slurpee day. 7-Eleven, you will get a free Slurpee. Did they do that in Winnipeg? Is my question. So,
Yeah.
okay, Jamie says we put Newcastle there to stop the Scottish coming down any further. They get there and turn back because they think the rest of England is like them. Oh, okay. So you inflict the Geordies upon the Scottish, and they just go, nope. Okay. So that's not per capita. That's just the largest consumer of Slurpees in the world. Okay. But did they do free Slurpee Day yesterday, Greg? That's what I want to know.
I'm
That or
I'm I'm kind of thinking in order for them to hold on to this record, they're actually trucking in Slurpee material and just dropping it off at key locations and handing it out free. In order to maintain that Guinness World Record, I think something's going on because that's a
yeah.
lot of Slurpee drinking for such a small population.
Yeah, I was going to say, relatively speaking, Winnipeg, major city. Don't get me wrong,
I mean,
major big city.
do they spray Slurpee juice onto the ice and just call that the Slurpee?
I don't think that's quite, uh, you know. Okay, Jamie wants to know what's a Slurpee.
Imagine I
Probably.
was going to tell a joke. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, because it was going to be a bad joke. Go ahead. It's a
Probably
lady named it's a lady named Earl in the back alley. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
a lady named Merle, huh? I think probably the closest thing. I don't even know if that's. Yeah, probably the closest thing to a Slurpee you would have over there would be a slush puppy. And it's basically a frozen carbonated treat. I hesitate. It's not a drink. It's kind of
Shaved
like,
ice.
yeah, kind of like shaved ice, but it's carbonated.
No, is
So,
it?
yes,
Oh
it is.
yeah. Well, not
It,
all of it though.
yeah, it's carbonated.
I haven't had a Slurpee. No wonder Canada's.
Mhm.
I haven't had a Slurpee since like I don't know. I can't tell you. I just passed by the machine and I'm like,
Mhm.
no thanks. I
You
just
know, I haven't thought about a Slurpee. Linda mentioned yesterday, damn, we missed free Slurpee day. And I haven't thought about a Slurpee in a year since the last free Slurpee day. But now I want a Slurpee.
the Coke Slurpees were good.
Yeah, a
I,
bunch of them are good.
I like the Coke Slurpees, but
Okay, how about cream soda?
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. It's not, it's
the
good.
cream soda Slurpee, yeah, though, is what I'm talking about.
I don't remember it. I mean, I remember I've had it, but I just can't. I liked the Coke
Hmm.
one, you know,
And
which is
then,
basically Coke.
yeah, there was another brand here in the States called Icy, ICEE, and
Hmm.
their
Yeah.
mascot was a polar bear. And that was at other convenience stores. But 7-Eleven had the Slurpee. In fact, they invented that thing, the, the carbonated one. Now, there was always snow cones and shaved ice and things like that. But
Yeah.
in fact, when we were in Hawaii, that's a big thing. They call it shave ice because it's the machine that they make it with has an actual big razor blade in it, and they run it back and forth over a block of ice, and it shaves off. It's like running a block plane over a piece of wood.
Hmm.
It shaves off little curls of ice, and they put that into the paper cone, stick a straw in it, and then they pour the syrup over the top of it.
Right.
And there's a big argument between the north shore of Oahu and the south shore of Oahu on what color pineapple should be,
Orange or yellow?
yellow or blue.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You get up on the north shore, it's blue. You get down on the Waikiki, it's yellow. And both sides will tell you that they're right, and that's the proper one. It should be blue if you're up on the north shore.
Interesting. Well, if
Yeah.
I had to, just from my limited, I would pick the yellow because it's the closest one that resembles the skin and the inside of
Mhm.
the pineapple.
Okay.
Blue doesn't
And
figure in it.
and I would agree with you 100%. But then the people up on North Shore would say, okay, what color is lemon?
What color is what?
Lemon.
Yellow.
So you've got two of them that are yellow. How do you know you got the right one?
Well, they can eliminate lemon, do lime, paint it green.
Lime is green. They both agree on that.
Yeah. Is there a big difference in your opinion between lime and lemon? Because
Yes.
yeah, I've never really sat with the. I'm used to. Well, yeah, I don't see much of a difference between the two.
Uh,
Taste wise necessarily.
I can big time in that I
More
can
acidy.
actually peel and eat a couple of pieces of lime. It's sour and it's very acidic, but I can actually eat a piece of lime or two. I can't do that with lemon.
Okay.
Lemon is just you mix a lot of sugar in it and it's okay. So
Basically, ice and juice. Jamie
mhm.
says yes, that is
Yeah,
correct.
it's basically ice and juice, but the difference is a Slurpee is carbonated, and they manage to keep the carbonation while it's freezing. It's not quite 100% frozen, so it does keep some of the carbonation. And
Yeah.
it's just Slurpee is just it's one of those things. There's nothing else. I mean, icy comes close, but it's not quite. And then Jamie just said exactly. And the other difference is life doesn't give you limes. So,
Yeah.
so we've been all over the world on this one. Holy cow!
Unless you're in a lime orchard, and then that's all you got.
Yeah, put the lime in
Um,
the coconut and drink it all up.
that's
Harry
right.
Nelson.
Yeah.
So I got to tell
Well,
you, I am tired as heck. So I'm punchy. That means everything is funny to me, whether it's funny or not.
well, I'll share this bit with you. Uh, there was a guy, and this is a very broad, but I'll give you maybe you'll know the story, or somebody out there will know the story. An American guy, I believe it was. I could be wrong. He could have been. I don't. You know what? Forget the nationality. I don't remember, and I don't even know if they said it or not. But whatever. There's a dude from the 1950s that got a wacky idea, and he wanted to buy an island,
Mhm.
and he had some capital to spend, and I think it was back then. 10 grand to purchase this island
Mhm.
in that time's money. And he bought it. And it took him a few years, but he eventually moved there and lived the rest of his life there till he passed away sometime in this decade. Um, or in the previous, wait, we're in 20, so we're in a brand new decade, right?
Oh yeah.
2022. So in the last decade,
Mhm.
holy smokes, when you think about it in those terms, we're at the beginning. This is the second year of this decade.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, I don't calculate it like that. I calculate it from 2000 on as one solid.
One line, yeah.
Don't you do the same, Mark?
They just kind of blend together anymore. I don't think of time in terms of decades unless I want to make that comparison. Well, yeah, it's been that way for 3 decades, you know.
But
I
before we could do that,
Mhm.
you could do 60s had a definite bookend,
Mhm.
70s, 80s, 90s had bookends, and the first 2000s had bookends. Everything after is like a blur.
Yeah.
Not the first 2000s bull. From 2000 on, it's kind of blurry. You can make the
Can,
argument, but it's all a blur.
can you really say that 2000 to 2010 was different than 2010 to 2020?
I mean, in the great scheme of things, you can make some arguments, but generally speaking, it looks like some
I
sort of
mean,
like,
there were basic changes in technology, but that's about it. There hasn't been a whole hell of a lot in other, like you're talking about. There's definite differences between the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. There's a definite difference.
yeah.
You can go back further. There's a definite difference between the 40s and the 50s, or the 30s and the 40s, or the 20s and the
I
30s.
get blurry between, I'm not going to lie, I get blurry once you go from 40s. Um, my strong point, if you can call it that, has always been up until even the 50s because but through the vantage of music. And
Right.
my history was informed with me investigating the circumstances, places, and stories involved in the musicians that I enjoyed in those eras. So I learned through music about the era as opposed to any significant. It was very weird.
Well,
Um,
see, now that's weird because with me it was TV and movies.
well, yeah, that too. Popular culture
So,
and stuff. Yeah,
so less about the music, but more about the movies and television. But
when I
but
would
yeah,
read a
but your point's well made. Yeah.
it's in the ballpark. When I would
Mhm.
read a biography on, I don't know, let's say the Doors in the
Mhm.
'60s, it would inform you about California and the things
Mhm.
that they were up to in that era and the people they would run across, and then they would encounter, um, engineers that had a certain background, and then
Yeah.
you learn about that, and then when
Mhm.
they went to Europe, you learn. So it's a weird stepping stone to learn, but past the '40s. Um, it becomes a blur. I know certain key moments, but not enough. I
Mhm.
once you go into the '40s back, um, the picture isn't as clear. Like right now, last thing I'll say, like right now, I'm doing a lot of research with the family history, and to me, I've I've filled in the blanks to a great degree of what was going on in the latter half of the 1800s in the area that I'm studying,
Yeah.
but not in other parts of like Spain or Iberia, just in the area. So now I have knowledge of that roughly
Mhm.
because I mean, people, and so you go jumping from one rock to the other, gathering, and then
Mhm.
but it gets blurrier, obviously, the further back one
Mhm.
goes, at least, in my
Right.
case.
Well, because we don't have any life experience back then to compare it to. So,
No, no.
so you started your story talking about this guy. You thought he
So
was American, then he wasn't. And
he bought an island
oh yeah,
for
yeah,
10
yeah.
grand.
Mhm.
And he, within 2 or 3 years, relocated to that island. And for the next 20, 30 till just recently, 2014 or so, when
Mhm.
he passed away, he lived on that island It's somewhere off the coast of Africa, on the east coast of Africa, like in the Indian Ocean. Like he's like in the middle of, and he lived there, and with the assistance of someone that he brought on board, they planted and brought animals, insects, and such, and just all sorts of birds,
Mm-hmm.
and made it into a habitat
Mm-hmm.
and transformed what was considered a deserted island with just, meager, resources. They transformed it into this incredible ecosystem. Two guys, and it's now a what do you call it, a protected wildlife something or other,
Sanctuary kind of a thing.
some sort of park sanctuary, whatever. Now it's an official due
Mm-hmm.
to his life work on that island.
Wow.
And yeah, it was incredible. So he didn't have much in the story, prospects or any goals in society. He didn't have any desire to interact abundantly with others necessarily.
Yeah.
And he did that, and he worked doing that, and he left this incredible legacy and this incredible story of a guy going out into nature and stuff and whatnot. And all that. I found it interesting. There's
Was
the island. Go ahead.
was it a video that you saw about this?
It was an article
No. Okay.
that I ended up researching, and then I looked for the video just to see the thing. It's called the Moine Island. It's a small island, 24 acres,
Mm-hmm.
in St. Anne Marine National Park off the north coast of Mahé,
Mm-hmm.
basically off of Africa, somewhere in the Indian Ocean. And yeah, he brought tortoises there. They're thriving. I mean, there's a whole thing, and I just found it interesting.
So no apex level predators, obviously,
Not that
but
I'm aware of.
other just animals that were was it all considered endangered animals that he brought and kind of settled there,
I
or
didn't go into it that far. I just know that
okay?
he went to add to the ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
and it's it's become an ecosystem with a lot of diversity.
Hmm.
They say that's it's the only place that certain things are found now and stuff.
Wow.
I just yeah, an incredible story.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you still have access to that article, but would you mind putting that over on the Facebook page, the Trampled Underfoot podcast Facebook page, when you get time? Because I'd
Yeah, well,
like to check it out.
the article I don't have it. I can put some sort of link to show.
Okay,
And
or the video or something like that. I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. If you can't do it, you can't do it. But
no, I'll look. I thought it was interesting. He lived his life in nature, and
Mhm.
he wasn't suited for for society, necessarily for society, but yeah.
Yeah, Jamie says, I bet there's a Walmart there now. Yeah, not if it's protected, but yeah, your point's well taken. They don't have Walmart in the UK, do they?
No, they have
Give them
Poundland.
time. Give them time. Give them time. There'll be one.
They have Poundland, but Poundland's more like a dollar store.
Yeah, more or less. We got a Dollar General down the road from us. They just built here earlier this year, and I've not been into it yet. I'm kind of resisting the urge to go to Dollar General. I don't even
As
know
in,
what
as inflation rises, Mark,
it's going to
will
be.
they have
$2 General.
yeah, will they have to like completely increment, because it
Mhm.
was a five and dime store before. There
Yeah,
were five and dime stores.
we used to have a store here when I was a kid growing up called the 88-cent store. And it wasn't that everything was 88 cents, it's that they didn't have anything over 88 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And you go in there, you get dishes or bath towels or whatever. It's a decent sized store.
We had the
Um,
10-cent store here in Miami. The 10 cent.
yeah.
10 cent. My Cubans in general, but my grandmother would call it tenceng. So they totally disregard because they read it just as it's spelled. There is no anything else. Read it, everything as it's spelled. But we had a 10-cent store here.
We had a 5 and 10 cent store, but I don't even know why they were called that because there wasn't
A price
yeah,
regulated.
it wasn't anything, but it was called the 5 and 10 cent store, not the five and dime, but the 5 and 10 cent store.
Maybe it was just like, hey, things here are cheaper. A suggestion more than a business model.
That's possible.
Yeah,
Just needed a catchy name.
yeah.
So, oh well. Oh man. Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm ready to land the plane. I know it's only been an hour, but I am ready to land the plane. I'm about ready to fall asleep right now.
Well, there's no need to force prior, like in Tom and Jerry, prior your eyelids with toothpicks, and Tom is falling asleep and he shuts his eyes and they go snap. There's no need to force people to. We're here at the pleasure of your Royal Highness. We're here at our pleasure and at the pleasure of everyone involved. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up. And I will mention a couple of things. Number one, we go live every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific Coast here on the Trampled Underfoot podcast show on YouTube. We have a website, same name. We have a the Facebook page, same name, Trampled Underfoot podcast, and we usually post stuff there that we talk about, photos and articles and such. And so yeah, nothing. We'll see you guys here next time, Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on this same bat channel. We're also sponsored by
Steve Nealon and his partner. I have to say that now at Harneal Media, your one-stop website shop. If you're looking to start, create, or expand your web presence, Steve is your man. Steve will take care of you. He'll hook you up. You want to create a web store? He can hook you up with that too. You want to design and sell merch? He can hook you up with a print on demand company that'll handle all of the inventory. They handle all of the shipping, the everything you could think of that you don't want to take care of, they will do it. You just sit back and watch the orders come in. That's Harneal Media, Harneal media.com, sponsor of Trampled Underfoot Podcast.com.
All right. So listen, folks. Hope you enjoyed yourselves. We will be back next week, and nothing. Have a safe one. Enjoy yourselves. Do that which is in your nature to do without hurting anybody, of course. And we'll catch you then.
Peace.
See ya.